In the early 20th century, the United States and Persia, as Iran was then known, enjoyed relatively cordial relations. American missionaries established schools and hospitals, fostering goodwill towards the United States. The U.S. provided technical assistance, helping to modernize Persia's infrastructure and develop its oil industry. Despite these positive interactions, the relationship remained limited in scope. Persia struggled to assert its independence in a region dominated by powerful neighbors.
The year 1953 marked a watershed moment in U.S.-Iran relations, a pivotal event that would shape the future of both nations for decades to come. The democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, was overthrown in a coup orchestrated by the CIA and supported by the British government. This covert operation was a response to Mossadegh's bold move to nationalize the Iranian oil industry, which had been under British control. The coup, codenamed Operation Ajax, was swift and decisive. It involved a complex web of political maneuvering, propaganda, and direct action, all aimed at destabilizing Mossadegh's government and restoring the Shah to power. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was returned to power, becoming a staunch ally of the United States. His regime was heavily supported by American military and economic aid, solidifying a close but controversial relationship between the two countries. The coup instilled a deep sense of resentment towards the United States among many Iranians. This resentment was fueled by the perception that the U.S. had undermined Iran's sovereignty and democratic aspirations for its own strategic interests. It also cemented the Shah's authoritarian rule, paving the way for decades of repression. His regime, backed by the notorious secret police SAVAK, became increasingly brutal, stifling political dissent and curbing civil liberties. The seeds of the 1979 Islamic Revolution were sown in the ashes of the 1953 coup. The discontent and anger that had simmered for years finally erupted, leading to a dramatic and transformative upheaval that would forever alter the course of Iranian history.
Following the 1953 coup, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi consolidated his power, establishing a firm grip over the nation. He embarked on an ambitious program of modernization, aiming to transform Iran into a modern state with advanced infrastructure and a booming economy. Backed by the United States, the Shah sought to transform Iran into a regional powerhouse. He implemented social reforms, including land redistribution and women's rights, to modernize society. However, these reforms were met with resistance. The Shah sought to weaken the influence of traditional religious institutions, which had long held sway over Iranian society. Many Iranians, particularly in rural areas, felt left behind by the rapid pace of change. The benefits of modernization were not evenly distributed, leading to widespread discontent. The Shah's close ties to the United States further alienated segments of the population. Many viewed his regime as a puppet of Western powers, exacerbating nationalistic and anti-American sentiments. To maintain control, the Shah relied heavily on his secret police, SAVAK, which brutally suppressed all forms of dissent. Political prisoners were tortured, and protests were violently quashed. This inherent tension created a fertile ground for revolutionary sentiment. The growing unrest among the populace set the stage for future upheaval. The United States, blinded by Cold War paranoia, turned a blind eye to the Shah's increasingly repressive policies. Their primary concern was maintaining a strong ally in the region, regardless of the cost to the Iranian people.
The year 1979 witnessed a seismic shift with the triumph of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. The Shah's regime crumbled under a popular uprising fueled by religious fervor, economic grievances, and anti-Western sentiment. The revolution, led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, established the Islamic Republic of Iran. Washington miscalculated the depth of anti-American sentiment among the Iranian populace. The Shah fled Iran in January 1979, ending 2,500 years of monarchy. The revolution transformed Iran into an Islamic republic opposed to the United States. The two countries, once close allies, became bitter adversaries.
In November 1979, Iranian student activists stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took 52 American diplomats and citizens hostage. The hostage-takers demanded the extradition of the deposed Shah and an apology for past U.S. interference. The crisis became a defining moment for both the United States and Iran. For the United States, it was a humiliating episode that exposed the limits of American power. For Iran, the crisis was a potent symbol of its defiance of the United States. The crisis consolidated the authority of Ayatollah Khomeini and his clerical allies.
In September 1980, Iraq, under Saddam Hussein, launched a full-scale invasion of Iran. The United States, fearing the spread of Iran's Islamic Revolution, provided tacit support to Iraq. The war devastated both countries, draining their economies and shattering their infrastructures. The conflict exacerbated regional tensions and contributed to the rise of extremist groups. The war's long-term consequences continue to be felt today. The United States' involvement in the conflict further complicated its relationship with Iran.
In the mid-1980s, the Reagan administration became embroiled in the Iran-Contra affair. This involved the secret sale of arms to Iran in exchange for the release of American hostages. The proceeds were illegally diverted to fund the Contras in Nicaragua. The affair damaged the Reagan administration's credibility and raised questions about presidential power. The scandal highlighted the complexities of U.S.-Iran relations. The Iran-Contra affair remains a controversial episode in American history.
In the early 2000s, the world's attention turned to Iran's nuclear program. The United States accused Iran of developing nuclear weapons. The international community imposed sanctions on Iran, targeting its energy, financial, and shipping sectors. Iran agreed to engage in negotiations with the P5+1 group of world powers in 2013. The negotiations aimed at finding a diplomatic solution to the Iranian nuclear crisis. The situation remains fluid, with the potential for either a diplomatic breakthrough or a dangerous escalation.
In July 2015, Iran and the P5+1 group reached the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. The deal placed strict limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting international sanctions. The deal was met with fierce opposition from hardliners in both Iran and the United States. In 2018, President Donald Trump withdrew the United States from the JCPOA and reimposed sanctions on Iran. Trump argued that the deal was flawed and did not address Iran's ballistic missile program. The Trump administration adopted a policy of maximum pressure against Iran. The future of the JCPOA remains uncertain.
The Biden administration has expressed a willingness to rejoin the JCPOA if Iran returns to full compliance. The stakes are high for the United States, Iran, and the entire Middle East.